know it. And I about went, what the hell?
I didn't mean to predict this, by the way. I've never heard this story before. So
I've
that
never
was me.
shared this with anybody other than my wife.
No.
And so anyway.
This just became Halloween edition.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
A little late there, Jimmy.
Okay, here's the interesting part, guys. So towards the back.
That wasn't interesting?
Oh, that was interesting as hell. But in the back, where the kitchen area is, that's where I used to go back there and cut my beddings and stuff. And I kept all my goldfish in back because it was much colder. Well, that was the freaking embalming room. So I'm in the embalming room. And so after he explains this to me, then I started going,
oh, yeah, it's real cheap. Rent's real cheap. We heat for you. Don't worry about it.
That explains the freaking shadows. And we would see shadows, from lights and stuff. And so finally, I finally get to meet the two guys that live upstairs. And they went, oh, yeah, dude. You wouldn't believe the crap that goes on in this place. And I'm like, I'm out of here. And they went, oh, you get used to it. I'm going, oh, hell no. Hell no. So, yeah. So Sarah was somebody they embalmed 20 years ago and never really left.
I'm just trying to put myself in the homeowner situation, right? He's got a bad reputation. He knows it's a funeral home. He's got basically the place paid for from the apartments above. So why wouldn't you? If you're a wealthy guy, you're retired, why wouldn't you like to screw with someone? Someone comes to their place, be like, $200 a month.
I work for this man.
All right. Even better. I'm saying that's why. Even better. He's got the money. He's got the time. Right. So he's like $200 a month, Jimmy. And then what he does is he takes that $200, hires an old lady
to come peek in on
you, and then does creepy things to you on purpose to see how long you take it. I'm just saying, if I had the money, there's nothing stopping me from, screwing with
Renting
you
old
on
women.
that. Right.
So
the only thing I would do is $200 wasn't enough to flash you. That would have been.
And so here, so there's a basement to this place. There's a basement to this place. Never been down there. My kids at the time are probably 10, 12 years old. And they came upstairs really excited and go, God, you got to come down here and check this out. It's really cool.
Daddy, Grandma Sarah made cookies.
No. I went down there and looked at the display of children's caskets.
No, they still had the crap in the building?
Still had children's
Adorable.
caskets downstairs.
I am convinced. This man, your quote-unquote friend, you worked with him, he's there. He's fluking with you, bro.
Oh, man. So that was story number one about this building, now that we're kind of just past Halloween and stuff. But yeah, and I was there probably another 2-3 months, and I couldn't get out of there fast enough.
But did they have the concrete sealers that they used to bury him in? Because those are just free fish ponds.
Yeah, you know what? I wish they would have. I would have used them too.
We're in Minnesota. We don't have to worry about flooding up here, really, so we don't have concrete sealers. That's more of a South thing.
No, my mom and dad both had concrete.
Really?
Yep.
I have yet to see one in person besides going down south.
Oh, no, they require them. The state of Minnesota requires you to
Where?
have. You have to when the burial vault is put in the ground and then the casket's put in there and then it's both sealed.
Telling you, last 3 funerals. I was with the graveside ceremonies. Dirt.
The last 3 funerals you went to was probably where you flushed your fish down the toilet. Dumbass.
I just want to know more, and we can have people look up you should find out Sarah's real identity.
No, I don't want to know.
And then we can have people send us creepy information.
If I had Jen on this thing, we saw our first ghost here in Perm the first year we lived when we went on that bicycle path out here.
Maybe she just wanted to do the fish death battle with you.
Yeah.
I feel like we had a phone call there for a minute.
It was Sarah.
Adam, no more text messages. Well, I know what to do now for future pranks.
Yeah, you definitely should because now that I own
punch him, Jim.
Now that I own handguns,
future pranks.
Oh, that's even better. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Just start shooting through the door.
All right, so I got one, and
the police.
I convinced myself that I needed to tell something because you'd never told anyone that, right? No. I'm going to share a story that, for legit reasons, I have never really told anyone. I don't think even my wife knows the story.
Can I interject real quick before we start?
Please, we need something to break this up.
So speaking about handguns and fish.
Please.
And fish.
One, it's real hard to shoot a fish in a barrel. I don't know if you guys have tried, but it's hard. So I was in Texas, real quick.
Cherry
I was in Texas. We had fished all day. And we were trying. Everyone owns a pond in Texas. If they have a ranch, everyone owns a pond, and everyone puts bass in the pond. And apparently it's so easy because these fish are just in there and huge, and nobody cared because it's all old people in my family that live down in Southeast Texas. But they left us down there. We're bored. I'm like 19 or 20 years old or whatever. No, wait, I must have been 21 because I'm sure I was legal. Sure. Let's say 21.
Yeah, he was 21. Definitely.
Yes, I was 21.
Still not old enough to know
I've been
better.
out there all day.
Wait. This is Texas.
Trying to catch fish.
You're 14. You're legal in Texas. Don't worry about it.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. So I've been at this lake all day and trying to catch fish. I hadn't caught a single thing, no bites. I was convinced there weren't any fish in the lake. So we'd been drinking and sitting there, and it was getting dark. I pulled out my pistol and I fired a whole magazine into the lake, just randomly, like a belligerent, Keanu Reeves or something.
No.
In Point Break.
No.
But literally,
no.
a bass comes floating up, and it just floats up to the top. I have a picture of it still. I can probably upload it later tonight. But I was like, are you kidding me? I hit a fish in this entire pond. I hit a fish with a bullet out of like 9 or 10 of them.
That is literally, the odds of that are astounding because, bullets don't exactly travel perfect in water either, and they quickly dissipate their velocity. So you hitting that is like real something else. It's like shooting into the air and randomly hitting a crow in the sky. Just
and there's probably 2 dead mermaids on the bottom of that pond too. That didn't float to the top.
Well, you should see the neighborhood just on the other side of the lake. Oops. Skip.
Oops.
No, it was in the middle of nowhere.
Well, thank goodness. No, your fishing skills are very mixed. With a bullet.
My shooting skills are very high, though.
Clearly. So, note to self: don't mess with Alex. All right. So
if you're underwater,
especially if you're underwater, if you're in open air, you're fine. But if you're in water, don't do that. So, anyways, my story I have not told to anybody, right? I'm pretty sure anybody, yeah. So I talked about it on one of our last podcasts that I was a single child, right? I'm not a normal person. This personality,
we know that,
didn't come out of a box.
Yeah, there's a point where people just give up, and that's what your parents did.
Right. So at the points where they give up, they see the kid, burning ants with a magnifying glass type thing. No, I'm kidding. I, as an immature child, was obsessed with farts. Right. So that's your preface. Now
you're still obsessed with farts.
Farts are the funniest thing. If I could shit my pants right now on command, I'd do it just for the listeners because farts are the best thing ever. Now,
I think you're confusing your bodily functions. It's not called a fart.
Sure. And growing up, I've told people on the podcast that I got into fish at a very young age. I grew up with my grandmother breeding all different types of fish, all different types of betas. She's the first person I've ever saw that had 40 betas and male betas in one tank that didn't fight because she grew them up together and for some reason figured that out, that matrix out somehow. She had huge tanks. I still have a couple of her books with handwritten notes, and getting into the hobby at a very young age, I had a couple tanks in the house here and there at all times, and I lived on a lake, so sometimes I'd have a tank where I'd have just, temporary fish for a couple days, put them back out in the water humanely, or I just keep tropical fish at all times. And there's always fun aquarium accessories. Like my grandmother gave me some of the first clock timers. They're literally a clock motor with the auto feeder on it. So a lot of cool products, but the fun things is the power of some of those antique whisper pumps, the air pumps. Right. I was just amazed with it. And it was a best toy getting a bunch of old rattly burnt out air pumps for my grandmother because she gave me a lot of fish accessories. Right. I still have one of these whisper pumps from it's you look at it and it's 40 years old. It's incredible. So I will play with them. I go plug them in outside, see if I could, make milk chocolate with mud in the dirt outside because why not? You blow a straw in milk, turn it chocolate milk. Why can't I play with it outside? So I was trying to find new, fun, inventive ways to play with the air pumps that I got. And I just love it's hard for me, Jimmy. Don't look at me like that. There's going to be a whole lot of judgmentalness in the room here. But being an 8-9-year-old kid, farts are the best. So I decided to take.
I just knew it was going in that direction.
I'm
going to leave the building for just a
At
minute.
8 years old, I decided to take the air pump and just see what it would do if I, squeeze it in my arm.
Where?
Give me time, all right? This is don't judge me. I was 8. So I put it in the armpit. Sure enough, I make fart noises. Raspberry out, put it in my belly button. Raspberry out. I was giggling myself. I didn't have a brother or sister to make fun of me. I could have used one at this time in my life. And this, escalated to fart noises. I'm like, I wonder. And I took that and, put it where the sun don't shine just a little bit. And it was enough to collect a little bit of air where I could go run out in the living room and then fart loudly in front of my parents' television. So I thought this was
silence falls throughout the room.
I feel all your judgment, and you can all go fluke yourself, all right? I was 8. I was creative. This is my body, and I thought farts were cool. So I would do this, right? And my parents...
There's more to this story?
There is more to this story.
God help me.
So my poor parents, I'm their only child, right? So I run out, and I try to pretend... They could see my cheeky face, like I made a grin, and then I just go in. I'd lift my leg, or I'd do like the whole bend over backwards, like the Jim Carrey movies, and was it Ace Ventura, and pretend to talk with my butt and fart, right? So anything I could do to like cue up a fart. So if I thought it was a funny moment for a fart, like my parents were being serious with a family member or a friend, I'd come out and just rip my ass. And I learned a lesson one day that there's a appropriate amount of air to put in your derriere. And there's no PSI pressure thing like a tire. So one day, my parents were watching a really serious movie. I think it was like a Nazi documentary or something, because my mom loved history and stuff. She always watched World War II stuff. And I go out, they're being all serious, like, "Oh, Robbie, knock it off." And I go out. I think I almost rupture my colon with this huge bottle of air. I release it.
It's like prolapse problems going on.
No, none of that. I was 8. Things were very young and elastic back then.
You don't do this now, do you?
No, because I
only do this if you're 8.
I ripped one for about 20 to 30 solid seconds, and at the end, violently shit my pants. Like, it wasn't even a little bit. It was just like violently shit my pants. My parents just think it was the continuation of a fart. I like turn immediately red, and they're like, holy crap, are you okay? They don't have a clue to this day that I shoved an aquarium tube up my derriere for a couple seconds just to fart in front of them on command. But God, I just realized my mom might listen to this. Anyways,
don't lie. How long did that air pump stay in your life?
He said he still got it.
I don't have the same one. That one did finally burn out.
Well, yeah, because he's trying to freaking blow up Bullwinkle at Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is what he's trying to do. For God's sake.
You burned a motor out on an air pump for a fish tank in your butt.
Yeah. It wasn't in my butt.
Try to blow up the
used it after the fact. Come on, all the judgment here. This is a safe place. It's story time.
This is not a safe place. You are so ridiculed and wrong. Oh my God.
So anyways, I shit myself to an epic degree. I slowly walk away, trying to not have my parents notice.
Did you leave a trail?
I hope to God not. I never checked the carpet. I know the carpet was dark colors. I basically just cried in the shower. That's basically all I did. And to this day, I look at air pumps very weird. They haunt me, not as much as Sarah haunts you in the warehouse. But for those that don't that are listening to this, take it as a tale of caution. Be careful with your devices. Use as they're intended, and know that the antique Whisper air pumps are by far the most powerful I've ever made for commercial plastic air pumps.
Other brands.
Last time when I was here and I talked about gaseous exchange, this was not what I meant.
No, not at all,
Rob.
8-year-olds are the stupidest human beings on the planet, especially 8-year-old boys. Farts are still cool. Air pumps haunt me.
And stay tuned for Rob's second story of the night will be about the time that he, dried his hair in the shower with a blow dryer.
That'll be how I end my life. That
explains why he's so
to figure out a way of another device to make a fart noise.
Oh,
okay. So now that I've officially
make a wish as an 8-year-old after that discovery.
Join Discord. GG Aquariums.
I don't know what that was. I just got a.
That was Sarah.
That was Sarah.
I was thinking of Gigi Allen.
I feel like I need a shower after that story. I just feel kind of. Ugh.
Well, someone please take me from my embarrassment. Who's up next?
This one has nothing to do with fish.
How about,
it's okay. We need anything right now.
I've never told this story that will be available for the internet, so take that as you will.
Bentley, we appreciate your sacrifice.
When I was in high school, I was a loan shark. No. Whoa.
I love this
story.
I love how this starts out.
I have to tell you one other story first.
Okay. Please.
So it's it leads into why. When I was in my very early teens, so like 11, 12, 13, my dad and I were really into sports cards. Okay. We used to go every weekend. We would go to a different sports card show in a mall and we would sell sports cards. We got so heavily into like the collecting hobby that we started selling stuff. As a kid, I was always really, really good at numbers, math, understanding, pricing. Okay. So a lot of times what you would get is you would get these people who my dad would like leave the table because he knew that there was no way somebody was going to hoodwink his kid. And you get these older guys who thought, it's a little kid. I can totally get something off him dirt cheap. He won't know the difference. But deep down, little Bentley was a hustler. And the way that I figured out how to hustle people for money as a kid was through magic cards. Now, I'm a nerd. I love playing Magic. And I realized very early, nobody sells Magic cards at sports card shows. There's packs, and the kids that come with their dads, the dads are into sports cards. The kids don't give a dang, right? All they want is Magic. In our area. We're in the Seattle area. This is where Magic started, okay?
Hey, I'm a Magic fan through and through. I got a couple $1,000 decks. I can confirm this.
I start selling singles.
Hot singles online?
Is like, I've got to, no, I sold them at the sports card shows. There was no online back then, sir. This is 1993, 1994, 1995.
At the birth of Magic, where it belongs.
Right. This is real early. So I made a deal with one of the guys that's always at the shows, always had boxes. And it was basically, he was like, I'll give you any box of Magic you want that I had for $50 a box. Well, I could sell most of the chase cards for between $20 and $30 a piece. And he was almost guaranteed in a full box that I would make 2 to 3 boxes worth of money and also keep the things I wanted to keep aside. So very quickly, what I figured out is that young kids don't know the prices. I do. And those young kids will badger their parents until they just give in for the cards they want. It's like back then, the big thing was the Shivan Dragon. Every kid wanted a Shivan Dragon, even though it wasn't really that good. And they were, quote, worth $30 a piece. But you would get a kid who would want it so bad. I realized that if I didn't put a price on certain cards, I could get $50 to $60 a piece on them. And the parents would know no better because they would see that a box of Magic cards is $100, and you could basically convince them, listen, you're lucky if you get one of these every 2 boxes, and a box costs you $100. So you're looking at $200 to buy to get the one card your kid wants, or you just pay me $60 and you get the card.
Yeah, fast forward to like 26 years into Magic the Gathering, and now you have an app that tells you the price. There was none of that back then.
This stuff didn't exist. There was a magazine called Scry, but even then, nobody read it, and it wasn't accurate.
I did.
Man, I am with the right crowd tonight.
No, you're not.
So we keep that in mind. I used to hustle sports cards and Magic cards as a kid to make money. Fast forward to when I'm in high school. My senior year of high school, I have never done any illegal drugs. This is also important. But I knew. No. I'm real weird in that I really care about my mental state, and anything that impairs my capacity over myself, I can't stand.
And you're on this podcast, and you're worried about your mental capacity?
I know.
What the hell?
We're a compromise, Jimmy.
It's a different kind of compromise. So
How about now?
in doing this, like I was kind of that person. I wasn't in any given single social group. So I knew over time every drug dealer at my school. And I was that person who was well known as like I owned my own little DJ business while I was in high school. I did all sorts of stuff. I was one of those people who networked and I knew a guy for everything as far as what kids cared about when they were young. And I realized really quickly that most of the people at my high school never had money for lunch because they spent it on fucking pot. Very quickly, I realized I can profit off these idiots by loaning them money.
Ding.
And I'm a bad person for selling a cancer kid.
Fast forward about a month into me figuring this out. And I have one guy who had borrowed $20. And my deal was, if you pay me back within 2 days, there's no interest. After that, for every day you miss, the amount of money you owe me doubles.
Or a kneecap.
Wow.
Or a kneecap.
I was
Kneecap's cheaper.
No, he doesn't do a kneecap. All right, Bentley has ways of Jack Dempseying you to talk.
Oh, no. So let's get into how this really, let's tell the meat of the story. And I did this through my entire senior year without a single administrator or teacher being the wiser. Yet almost every member of the student body knew that if you ever needed money, I was the person to talk to, but you better pay me back fast or it's going to be trouble. Fast forward a month into doing this, I got a guy that owes me like $150, right? We had this guy, we'll just call him Big Red. He's 6'4", 360 pounds of solid muscle that's at my school. This guy had become my enforcer. And basically...
Hire done.
You think, oh, we're not even done yet. Hold on. We're not...
Don't worry. You're still not as bad as butt tubes, so...
So anytime somebody owed me more than $60, I would go talk to him. And the deal with him was very simple. He would intimidate them because he's a very large man, very scary. And I would buy him whatever he wanted for lunch. And what was noteworthy is that in our particular high school, you couldn't go off campus for lunch with rare exceptions.
Oh, sweet deal.
I had an off-campus pass, so I could leave campus to get lunch.
Less sweet.
That guy loved him some Pizza Hut. And there was a Pizza Hut like 4 blocks away from the school. And it was very much a deal like the first time I remember negotiating with him, he's like, so I can have anything I want for lunch. Like, that's right. It's like, so if I want a large pepperoni pizza and a thing of breadsticks and a soda from Pizza Hut, I was like, done. It's like, I'll go get you your money. So
can we call you the Pizza Mafia? Is that what this is?
I send Big Red after this one guy who owes me like $150. And he's a horrible stoner, and I know it. He doesn't have the money. We're not going to actually hurt the guy, right? But it's just very much like all right, you got a week. If you can't pay it in a week, we're going to have some issues, right? Very, very faux mob boss kind of stuff. So Big Red comes back to me and goes, hey, man, I can't get it. I go, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll still buy you lunch. Buy him lunch. While I'm out driving to go get lunch, I call every single drug dealer that deals at our school.
No.
All these guys know me because they know when their people don't have money, they can send them to me and they'll get a loan.
Right.
So I guarantee them income.
It's called networking.
Even though I don't deal. Right?
Exactly. Networking.
So I call them all. And I remember the first guy I called, he was a good buddy of mine. We used to play D&D together. This is how we knew each other. Right? This is how I slowly started to learn who all the drug dealers were. Is like back in middle school, when we were like 13 or 14, we played D&D together. This is how I network. I network in the weirdest ways. So I call him, I'm like, yo, we'll call him Joe. Okay? Joe, here's what's going on. Definitely not the guy's name. Owes me a lot of money. I know he's been buying from you. Blacklisted. Don't sell to him at all until he pays me back. He's like, dude, that's one of my best customers. He buys from me. I go, if you keep selling to him, I will not loan to any single person who buys to you ever again. He's like, are you serious? You're going to treat me like, I go, yes.
That's exactly it. You're going to get it.
It's like, okay, you got it. How long do you think it's going to be? And then I was basically like, when he pays me back, I'll tell you. I call everybody. I blacklist this guy from every person who deals drugs and get them to push it up further.
No.
So basically, this guy can't go through 6 different high schools worth of local high school dealers and get anything. I'll let you.
This
Alex,
was
go
the
ahead.
LARPing drought. This was the LARPing drought of 2003, I think.
Was the guy's name Alex? Was it Alex?
Because I graduated before then.
It was Alex, wasn't it?
Whoa, wait. So this basically got all the way back into Heisenberg.
It went back to Columbia.
This person comes by a day later, and his parents are pretty wealthy. I want to put this out there. This guy comes from a wealthy family. I lived in a relatively wealthy area. I was the poor kid on the street where I grew up. This comes back to me and goes, so how much do I owe you? Like, well, yesterday it was 150. Doubles every day. You owe me 300 today. He goes, if I can get you 300 tomorrow, is that okay? Just give me the one day. I can figure it out with my parents and get you paid. I went 300 tomorrow, cash.
No credit cards.
Otherwise, you know what's going to happen. He goes, I called 10 different people. No one will sell to me. And I go, I know. Because I called them.
Oh, man.
And they know that no matter how much money you spend, because mommy and daddy give you money all the time, I bring in more money than you do. So that is the story
of how you bought your first fish tank.
I was a loan shark and bought my first car, a lot of my upgrades to my DJ equipment, how I bought my second car, and how I afforded all sorts of nerd things in high school, despite my job being working at a small mom and pop burger joint.
That's perfect. I mean, that's basically Jimmy's upbringing, except it's, insert cash for Lefse. You know what I mean? Oh man, just the sheer, like, I want to know what's going through your mind. Like, as a kid, you're like, and then the light bulb goes off. You're like the genius mobster. Kudos to you, man. Kudos to you.
Just deep down, I love money.
Who doesn't? But that's genius.
Nowadays, I have a lot more morals than I did as a high school child.
Well, you got a job, and
So let's go back to that first question about how to make money selling angelfish. Screw that. Go down to your local high school.
You loan people angelfish.
Become your local high school loan shark.
And then the moment that they don't pay you back for them, you just tell every pet store owner, be like, hey, I loan you a lot of money so kids can get fish tanks. Alex, You got one for us? Or was the other one your second story?
Whatever you want it to be. Anything you want.
All you?
I want you to borrow money from Bentley.
Oh. I apparently wasn't as smart as Bentley because I just went straight to dealing the drugs at like.
It's like weird. You got a call and like, oh, Bentley said so. Okay.
Yeah, actually, we did I'm a little younger, but we grew up in the same 100-mile radius as one another, around the same city.
There you go. That's why you guys don't have Lefse.
I literally, though, I used to. Now that it's legal, might as well be everywhere. Yeah, I sold a bunch of pot to get one of the things that motivated me selling pot when I was a teenager was because the purple metallic snakeskin delta tail guppy was a new thing that you could get on eBay from Thailand. And I literally had someone basically I remember it was the same price as an ounce is what I paid for this stupid guppy.
Lasted about as long too, didn't it?
Clout. Yeah, lost all clout amongst drug dealing friends. They're like, you should have gotten a piranha, bro. But clearly I should have gotten a Jack Dempsey.
Clearly. Too good.
Yeah. Okay, so the next story, it's not a very long one.
That's okay. We're wrapping up.
When I started on the YouTubes, I only had a few tanks because my wife and I live in an apartment, and I had just moved in with her maybe, I don't know, a year earlier or something. But it wasn't like we thought, okay, we're going to get a different place together soon kind of thing. So I was like, I'm not about to start collecting 40-gallon breeders in here or whatever. So I had like a 20 and a 10 and another 10 or something like that. I think maybe a little aquascape cube too. But two of the tanks, one had, if you guys know Lucas Bretz, it had a bunch of his shrimp in it. And I had a colony of, I think it was mostly red shrimp. Yeah, I think they were like his painted fire cherry reds that ended up winning Aquatic Experience, like Best in Show for American bred Neocaridina shrimp. And so he'd hook me up with some, but they weren't cheap. We weren't like good friends or anything at the time. Like, this is how I found out about him. So I had been doing this series on shrimp, and it was the best on the channel, you know, Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. That's an easy one for people to remember and type all the way out. So, you know, when I had something that finally gained ground, I was kind of like, sweet. So I realized people were digging on my shrimp stuff. Well, I had also done a video on peacock gudgeons and just done like a species profile. And the tanks were set up. So one was up here on kind of a rack, and the other was the shrimp tank on the floor, which is a dumb place for a tank, especially when you need to siphon it. But I had like realized, okay, I like brainstormed all these things that I could cover about shrimp, you know, the stages of life, how to grade shrimp, all these things. And I had all these baby shrimp in there. And I was pretty happy because it was the first time I picked shrimp back up in the hobby since they like came out in like 2004 or whatever, you know, when they were brand new and really novel, the Neocaridinas anyways. I go to bed, wake up next morning, and I look in the shrimp tank, and there's just dead shrimp everywhere. I can't even find a live shrimp. And I was like, what happened? And I go looking up in the other tank. No fish in the tank. And I was just like, what happened? And I'm looking around. Finally, I have to clean out the whole shrimp tank anyways, because I thought maybe I could fish out a couple live ones. And I did. I found like, I don't know, 6 live ones or something. But I found in that tank a male and a female peacock gudgeon that had been in the tank up and diagonal from it. So they both made a leap of faith down into my cherry shrimp tank, like a good 2 or 3 feet, you know, distance between the height and the over a foot, and they managed to both get in there. So they either chased each other out of the tank and into there, or they both were like, oh, we're gonna ruin Alex's life, and then they just jumped. And they clearly didn't swallow the shrimp, they just chewed them. They just chewed them and then hid under a rock. And I don't know, but the crazy ironic part, and you can go back and watch these videos I cover. I think I made some melodramatic title like
Thunderdome
or Gudgeon Cherry Shrimp Gudgeon Slaughter Fest or something. Slaughter Fest. The weirdest part is, so I take out the peacock gudgeons, throw them back in the tank, and I'm ready to like just put them in a, I don't know, the disposal. I'm so pissed off.
The flushable
because
tank.
You know, shrimp. Yeah, shrimp are not cheap. And
they basically, like in 2004, they didn't even have a lot of Neocardenia colors for people that are like really understanding this. Like this the getting shrimp at that time was unheard of, and you had to call in favors for people. I mean, crystals didn't even hit the scene until like 2011 and further.
Yeah, all the way back then, that was like, I mean, I think it was red, and then blue and orange came next, I think. But in any case, this was later than that. But they weren't cheap. These were Lucas Brett's LRB Aquatics that, you know, he had some standing in the community. So
this must be 2014 because this was your YouTube channel, which is still prevalent. Yeah, like the shrimp thing was emerging then, so it's still just as impactful.
Oh no. I was just saying 2004 is when the last time I had kept shrimp before this.
Gotcha.
Like, and that's when they were brand new, I think, like as a common thing. Okay. And so I put the gudgeons back in the tank, whatever. They're lame. No one cares about them. No one wants to see the gudgeon videos. And, you know, I still actually do like peacock gudgeons, and I have a couple. But I put other fish back in there. And then I call Lucas, and I'm all like, hey, man, can I order the same thing I ordered like a month ago and just get another colony going? And told him the story, and he's like, that was dumb. You should have put a lid on your your tanks, you know? And I was like, I know. And everyone had the same thing, like, duh, that happened. I still feel like I'm justified in assuming that a fish is not going to leap like 3 feet down and 1 foot over to eat all your shrimp. But I might be wrong. I mean, clearly that happened. So that tank, though, I have baby shrimp again in it a few months later. And I'm like,
No.
Yeah, sweet. I'm raising these baby shrimp. And I made sure to move the tanks apart. All good.
Did you put up field goal posts? Just be like, clear.
The gudgeons could not get in. I was sure of it. I knew that they would try. What had happened, though, is about 2 months into it, after I'd got the new shrimp, and they started having babies. And when the babies are first born, they kind of disappear anyways. You're kind of like, I don't know where they went. Like, I saw that the mom was buried, but the babies kind of went away. And so I am looking around, and I'm like, man, I thought she had more babies than this, but I don't know. It's planted tank. Maybe they're just missing. And after that, like, another week passes, and I'm sitting there staring at the tank, and I see a gudgeon swim by. And I'm like, what? Did my wife put another gudgeon in this tank? And it was a little gudgeon. Well,
wait a second.
Fish murdered my shrimp, and 4.5 months later, 2 baby gudgeons had hid in that tank. So they had murdered my shrimp and then like had a fest over the dead corpses of my shrimp.
Maybe that's why. And maybe the slaughter and not eating, the slaughter of shrimp just got them in the mood.
Well, I think there's something to that. So if you're trying to breed gudgeons for profit, just take them to your friend's house, put them in their shrimp tank,
feed them about $100 worth of shrimp, and sell the gudgeons for $2
bring them
a
to
piece.
Bentley's house.
Yeah,
stepping up.
Yeah, but
the peacock gudgeon.
Say that one more time.
Like the synchronized diving champion peacock gudgeons. Apparently, they're getting the sticks from the Bulgarian judge.
I want to see a competition at Aquashella of jumping gudgeons.
Well, it's kind of, I mean, like, I thought that was like, what are the chances? Like, because I thought, most of my fish don't grow very quickly, but apparently peacock gudgeons, most of the fry must have died, and it was a well-planted tank. So I guess they just, they grew to the size where they could eat baby shrimp quickly within a couple months. But I don't know what all they were eating until then. But that was weird. And the last little thing I had to say, because feeding fish, or I mean, jumping fish are on my mind, is that same store with the cancer kid. We used to have that Oscar for a while. And so we taught him how to jump through a hoop. We cut the lid of a brine shrimp thing out, like a plastic lid. So it was just the rim, me and this girl that worked there. And we would teach it to jump through in the tank out of the water for a treat, for blackworms or whatever. And you could get it to jump on command without giving it a treat first after a while. So you can teach your fish how to do this. But I didn't really think about it. And we would then taught it how to jump down, because he used to have 2 aquascape cubes. And so the girl's idea was, let's see if it can jump through the hoop over the edge down into the other tank. And so she would give it food and taught it how to do that. And then we sold it to that kid. But I was just thinking, man, I wonder if we taught that fish how to just jump out of the tank too.
Well, I think
I sold that.
You need to have a new YouTube series. Like, you guys want to hit some subscribers, like, for sure. Like, do a YouTube series, like a 4-part series of how to teach your fish to jump through hoops, and for shrimp or fun. I mean, either or.
And people were angry with Barnum Bailey Circus. Be mad at Alex, for gosh sakes.
Yeah,
that's pretty
I only
great.
cattle prod my fish occasionally.
Occasionally,
yes.
Occasionally.
It's easy because you just put it in the tank real lightly, and you get them all. You'll never miss.
You got another story for us there, Adam? If not, we can go to Jimmy.
Well, the one thing I can talk about the time I got something else super dangerous and deadly in my store.
All right, hit us quickly.
What's her name?
Okay, I told you guys the last time about how I had the Arizona bark scorpions.
A little bit, but refresh.
Yeah, refresh everybody.
So I took these Arizona bark scorpions from this lady at my store and I traded her for like a leopard gecko or something because she was going to give them to the kids at the trailer park or in the neighborhood. And they're not something that you want little kids to have. So I just did the nice thing and took them in. Well, I had gotten a phone call from a lady that knew my store. She was coming back home. She was from Vegas. And she goes,
let's talk about the bark scorpion. Why are those such a problem?
Well, they sting. And they're communal scorpion. They're actually kind of cool. I'm gonna get some again.
What? There's communal scorpions?
Yes.
Oh God.
I'm haunted.
Not as haunted as I was when he stuck that tube up your butt.
Hey, Sarah's gonna come haunt you tonight.
But anyway.
With that tube.
All right. So they sting you. They're venomous. Rob's butt used to have tubes in it. Keep going.
They're not really, I would consider them mildly dangerous to children because there's no anti-venom in northern Minnesota. And I don't know how dangerous they could or couldn't be. So I just decided they glowed under the dark under a UV light. They glowed a pretty dark green. So I'm like, yeah, they're pretty dangerous. They had small little pinchers. I took them in. So this lady comes in, or she calls me and she's like, I'm a couple hours away from your store. There was a scorpion crawling on my daughter in the car. And I'm just wondering if you could take it because we don't want it. I'm like, yeah, sure. Where were you guys at? And she's like, oh, we were near Arizona, Nevada. And I'm like, okay. I figured it was another Arizona bark. No biggie. She brings this scorpion to me. And the scorpion is big. And it's the sandy brown color. But it's got right below the stinger, it's got a bright, like neon black. Like it's a dark black, but it's like a weird color black segment. And I'm like, well, that doesn't look like a Arizona bark. And I'm like, it was like closing time. So I'm like, I'm not going to worry about it. So I dump it in with the Arizona barks. I figure it's fine. It'll be all right. So I'm just trying to think in my head, what the hell's going on with the scorpion? And I talked to the lady and she was going to come back, in a day or two. So I come back the next day. I come in early and I look in my Arizona bark tank that's behind the counter so nobody can get the things. My Arizona barks are in a circle, like, the old wagon wheel thing, like the old, Western wagons.
Sure.
And they're all like facing outwards. And then there's parts of scorpions all over my cage. And I'm like, what the hell happened in here? And I find the other one and I take the neon green light or the UV light, the black light, and I shine it in my scorpion tank. And then the new scorpion shows up, and that thing made the other ones look dull. Like it is the brightest neon green that I have ever seen. Like, this thing is just dangerous as hell by looking at it. So I'm sending pictures to my friends and a couple of vendors, and I finally hear back from them. I'm like, what the hell is this thing? Because I don't even know what it was. And I messed with it. I took an adult cricket and I poked at it with the cricket. So it stung the cricket, and the cricket just literally twitched and died. And I'm like, well, that ain't good. They send me a thing saying, well, yeah, but I had a pet store, so I had to deal with everything.
Oh, yeah. If you listen to prior story times, Adam has a history of getting stung by everything. Yeah. And then just kind of living with it and not going to the medical treatment.
Yeah. Northern Minnesota, they don't got the anti-venom. I'm just going to ride this out.
Yeah, Adam doesn't have erectile dysfunction. He has erectile overreaction.
Sounds like he has a reptile and insect dysfunction.
Yes, he does.
He does have a reptile dysfunction.
So I finally get a phone call from one of my vendors, and it's one of my reptile vendors on the West Coast. And he goes, dude, what the hell where did you get that? I'm like, I don't know. Some lady brought it in. I don't know much about it. She brought it in. I was going to close. I threw it in with the Arizona bark scorpions. It ate a bunch of them. I'm guessing it's hungry. Can you tell me what the hell it is? He goes, I'm pretty sure that's a deathstalker scorpion. Where the hell did that come from? I'm like, he goes, I don't know, but you can't touch it because it will kill you in 15 minutes. Like, is that a guaranteed going to kill me in 15 minutes? Yeah, you're going to die. They call it deathstalker for a reason, dumbass. Like, he was a good friend. Like, Jim would call me a dumbass.
You are a dumbass. So,
well, yeah.
Are these things native in Arizona?
No. I find the lady comes back a couple days later, and I'm like, this thing, how did you get this? And she goes, well, we were visiting friends in Vegas, and the husband just came back from Iraq. Put his duffel bag near our luggage, and then we loaded up our luggage after we said our goodbyes, and everything, because it's a Minnesota goodbye, so it's like 4 hours later. And they loaded it in the car. Well, the daughter said icky, and this scorpion was crawling up her leg, brushed it off her leg, and the mom caught it because they had the AC going, so it wasn't going very fast. The mom caught it in a cup and then brought it to me in like a McDonald's cup. And I'm like, you're very lucky because I was told by a vendor that this is a Deathstalker scorpion, and if she'd have been stung, she'd have been dead because there's no there's nothing. You're just pretty much SOL. So I had to move the Deathstalker.
For a quick look, that's a venomous scorpion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the cops came, and
there's a couple of variations of going even further. Like there's the yellow ones. Apparently, the black ones are the worst. Like the yellow ones, they say aren't particularly lethal unless you have you're elderly, a child, or have some sort of like heart condition. But the blacker ones are the ones that have the real problem. They're from Israel.
Well, that's what I couldn't figure out is how the hell it got to Iraq from Israel. But I don't ask questions.
There even
that's not a long walk.
There's a legality clause on these. They're illegal and highly regulated on most countries. Laws prohibiting even keeping them in general. Only certain zoos with licenses can have them for educational purposes.
I can buy one for $15 tomorrow.
I'm assuming there's a few different kinds.
Yeah. I want to talk about the elephant in the room that nobody's asked about yet, and I know it's on everybody's mind. So when you shine the black light in your tank with the Deathstalker and the other ones, did all the little pieces of the other ones just kind of glow too? So it was like really pretty.
They did.
So it was kind of like looking into a starry night down in your tank.
Why he had stains all over his face, and, with the glow light, but never mind.
But no, so that was the Deathstalker, and then I got in an argument with the police department, and they wanted me to kill it, and I didn't want to, and yeah, the cop got mad because there was an ordinance in Grand Rapids saying no exotics, so they tried to get me to get rid of all like my reptiles, and I'm like, look, if it wasn't for me, you guys would have this type of shit running around. And I showed her the Deathstalker and then the bark scorpions. And she got pissy with me. And I said, fine, I won't take cats in anymore. Or kittens. So I just made sure all the kittens went to her. And after about 2 days, they decided that they were going to let me keep whatever I wanted within reason.
Lions, tigers, and bears, oh my.
Well, it was just stupid. I mean, I was there. I helped out. I took care of stuff for them. I made sure it was stuff that they didn't have to deal with. And they didn't even realize it was going on until because I would take it.
Now, didn't you go a couple of times before the police department and capture snakes? If I remember right.
Yeah, I had to catch a couple. Then I got called
Where do you live again?
I lived in northern Minnesota, in Grand Rapids.
Oh, okay, like Duluth. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I lived about an hour and a half. What is it?
From Duluth,
north of Duluth.
Way up there.
Now,
way up there.
Oh, you betcha.
I'd gotten a phone call from the Duluth Police Department at one time because some guy had a cobra loose in his apartment complex, and then Sherry yelled at me because I was going to go get it. And then they had some guys from the cities drive up to go catch it. But yeah, I was the one that would deal with this stuff because nobody else would. And so the cop just kind of pissed me off. I did kill it eventually because it just got too dangerous because the kids all knew that it was in the store. So if I was helping customers, they'd try to sneak behind the counter to look at it. And I'm like, nah, done.
I'm just glad you didn't take the same, precautions like you did with the lionfish or any of the other stuff,
Or you called me and your doctor.
I kept it in the tank for a few months. Like I'd feed it and stuff. It was fun to have.
You're a sick human being. Let's just feed it more scorpions because Thunderdome.
Scorpions are expensive.
That's it. This podcast is now Storytime 3, the Thunderdome.
Thunderdome.
That's what it is.
I got a quick thing for Bentley real quick, and I don't know if Bentley's heard this or not. Earlier, you're talking about sports cards. You're talking about magic cards. And Rob does have a huge collection of magic cards, which I make a lot of fun of.
I make a lot of money.
And so, Bentley, if you need some, let me know, because a lot of times Rob's isn't home, and I can just steal them. But did you happen to see...
He's got a cheap one called Black Lotus.
There we
Steal
go.
That one.
No. I have the Underground Sea. There you go.
Wow, I don't even know where to start looking. This has happened last week, and I don't know if you caught it. We all know who Rob Kardashian is. And Rob Kardashian...
Whoa, you got to remember that our listeners are mixed. Some of them are your age. Some of them are my age. And
who does not know about the Kardashians?
I don't think people know about Dad Kardashian, which is the guy that helped get O.J. Simpson off.
Yeah, there's lawyer Kardashian that saved OJ.
Right.
They're best friends.
Right. So do continue now.
This is Rob, the son. And we all know the Kardashians have a little bit of money.
A little bit.
Just a little bit of money. Here's what the SOB hit last week. Rob Kardashian hit the football card equivalent of the lottery this week, pulling an insanely rare Tom Brady card that could be worth about $250,000. Here's the deal. Rob is a massive sports card collector who's been buying boxes of rare cards from his pals over at the Bullpen Card Shop in Los Angeles. About 3 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday morning, Rob was feeling the urge to buy a case of 2020 Panini Mosaic Choice Hobby Cards, which comes with 20 boxes of cards. No word how much Rob paid for the case, but they usually run around about $10,000. It ain't exactly a cheap hobby anymore.
What?
So this is like at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, Rob calls up his card buddy at the shop.
You just get that urge. You need to crack some cardboard crack, y'all.
Yeah. And so Rob couldn't personally make it to the store, which I'm assuming because he's too drunk or too high. So he gave the green light to the guys at the Bullpen to open it on his behalf and even allowed him to stream it on IG Live. And he hit some big cards. There were some cool
too rich.
Yeah. He got about 4 or 5 cards, but the biggest one was the Tom Brady card. So they'll figure he's probably going to gain about $300,000 to $400,000 from this one box of cards.
We're in the wrong business.
I know. I'm just so mad.
Well, now that you got us craving cardboard crack, you got a story?
Do I have a story? I do have a cute little story, which involves the same spot when I went to this little town of Frazee. And so now
that you've been making out with Sarah the ghost.
Yeah, this is a couple of months later now. I'm still at the same old place where it used to be the funeral home. But no, I don't go there at night. I go there in the afternoon. I'm out of there by 6 o'clock at night. I'm just not going to be there during evening hours. So I'd gone over to Brainerd, Minnesota. There was an older gentleman named Joe who I would buy angelfish from. And he would have, he sold a lot of black angelfish to me. So I went over to Brainerd, which is about 90 miles away. I came home. I had 350 angelfish in one bag with about 8 gallons of water in there. When I came home, I took it out of the back of my minivan. Now you have to realize this is an hour and a half drive home, and I've got plenty of tanks ready for these fish. And when I picked up the box, the bottom of the box broke. The bag hit the ground, and in front of the funeral home, the bag fell out, and all the fish went floating down the street because it was downhill. And so I had all those hundreds of angelfish, going down the gutter through the rocks and the glass and the garbage and stuff. And so I'm out there just in panic mode. I had to go get a bucket of water, and I'm just grabbing the nets and fingers. I'm throwing these fish in as fast as I can as we're going down the stream. And anyway, little do I know is that they took my picture. The city newspaper was just down the street, and the headlines were local man brings minnow races back to Frazee.
Is this? I gotta get a copy of this. This is the Frazee paper?
Yes.
Oh, I gotta find a picture.
Local man introduces goldfish into lake or
right?
something.
Yeah, no,
horrible
minnow racing into
minnow racing.
They used to have minnow racing apparently years ago.
That's actually still a big thing in a couple of towns around us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a lot of crap about that, but that's then I moved out of that town.
For those that are listening, I want you to do us a favor. Frazee, Minnesota, they have a local paper. Find that, put the picture on, email it to us. Whoever can find that first, I will give a T-shirt to, Graham Guys T-shirt.
And this was probably about 15 years ago.
Done. All right, there I said it here live. Maybe someone live on Discord will already do it. Who knows? But we'll look out for that T-shirt. So who won the race?
Who won the race?
You, or did you rip your pants?
I will say this, that several of those fish looked like they had been playing baseball and slid into third base because they were pretty scuffed up. It was a pretty sad ordeal. And the nice thing was, too, it was fall. So it was like, pretty dang cold out. And by the time I got done, I was pretty upset.
It was Sarah. You could just hear, you dumped the fish.
Probably.
Hackling in the background.
I wouldn't doubt it one bit.
Well, as long as they weren't swimming to the Thunderdome. I mean, that's been a theme today.
Well, a few did go down the sewer drain. A few of them did make it to the bottom of the hill.
They're just, they're still there.
They're probably
they're chilling with Sarah.
Oh.
All right. Well, I think I'll finish up then. I swear nothing will go up my butt for this next story. You guys got to do a couple stories that weren't necessarily fish related, so I'll hit an embarrassing one again.
My computer's gonna die, and I love you. I just want you to know that.
All right, Alex, it's been a pleasure. If you disconnect, join on your phone. We forgive you. But
okay.
As we finish up here, I am married to my wife now. I have to think about this. 8-9 years, right? And I am 30 years old this year.
I like how you look at me for like an answer.
Right. I have to look at something bewildering so I feel better. So I think it's 8-9 years. And I was old fashioned, right? We met in high school and we dated since I think 2008. So we've been together a while, right? And I'm being old fashioned, right? I was always the one that didn't want to move in with someone, stick to abstinence, have my first time be with my wife when we're married, that whole thing. So the only thing I found acceptable was that if we're going to live in the same house, it's going to be with my parents because I'm dumb, right? I'm dumb. So we're dating and...
you sound like a fun dude to date.
Oh, man. Like, you guys have a way better story. You didn't stick airlines up your ass. You guys had, money-making schemes. I had none of this. So
you kind of remind me of Howard from Big Bang Theory.
I'm the dude that kept weird shit in jars and then, clearly...
Real shit in jars.
Literal shit in jars.
Literal shit in jars. It's another story from another podcast we just did. I think it was like last week. But my parents have a pretty big house. I grew up on a small lake. It's a private lake. And my parents had an obsession with having a ton of dogs. At night, my parents didn't feel like they needed to take out the dogs. So I was the one that took the untrained dogs. To this day, I hate having dogs. I love Jimmy's dog. They're trained. They're wonderful. They got like little collars to make sure they stay at home. I didn't have any of that, so I had to walk my damn dogs. And they had like 6-7 dogs at any given time. So I had to go out and walk the dogs at night. And I do them a couple at a time or one at a time. So we had this little Pekingese with us. And for those that don't know, it's like a pug, but longer hair, longer body.
This is a disposable dog.
Gross looking.
If it dies, you flush it.
Pom-pom looking piece of shit. So, get outside, and my parents have an elevated house because they put it onto a basement. I'm sticking to abstinence, right? I haven't seen my wife, completely nude at this time. That's the best way I can put it for you, Jimmy. I'm sorry. So I'm outside doing the dogs. She's in her own room on the one side of the house, and as I'm taking the dog's sitting there, and he starts taking a piss in front of me, and I have a thing where wherever I'm at, I seem to swallow things randomly, like bugs continually. If I'm by a tank, I'm the guy that grabs the hose, swallows tank water. I once had not only tank water, but I sucked a fish, swallowed it in my mouth, and choked on it. I have a long history of just swallowing random shit. No matter where I go, it could be a bug, could be anything. So, given this special talent,
I have 100 one-liners, and I'm not going to say any of them.
I appreciate that. You're a kind gentleman that understands my problems on this episode. So I'm taking out the dog, and I'm not paying attention, and I look up in the window, like there's no blind on the window, and it's open to just the screen. I'm not hearing anything. I'm kind of focused on the dog. I'm just sick of having the damn dog I got to take outside. And all I do is hear a small noise. I look up, and about 3 feet from my head is the person that is now my wife getting undressed, but she's kind of, derriere to the window. She just pulled down her pants, and her entire back end side was like 2 to 3 feet from my face. And this was the first time I've ever seen that, much less had this view of my wife's downstairs. And at that very moment, it was like the world came to one, and Sarah... No, I'm kidding. And a bug, a giant June beetle. Like, if you've seen these June bugs, they're huge sons of bitches. Flies into my mouth as I'm going, and just grabs that diddler on the back of your throat and holds on for dear life. Like it's a stripper pole and he's trying to make some ones. All right. Just holds on for dear life. And that's a big some bitch. You need to Google these things if you've never heard of a June bug, if you're in another country or whatever. And just holds on. So now take it from my wife's point of view. This is mine. I go gasping because it's the first time I've seen my wife's hoo-ha and future wife's hoo-ha at this point, right? And just sitting there and just holding on for dear life. And at that moment I go, what are you holding on to? Hears me gasp and then immediately following with projectile vomiting. Just blah, like inches away from a peeing dog right in front of me. Just grabs on. I have a really big gag reflex. I try to swallow and vomit all over like a cartoon. So my wife turns around, sees that I'm puking at the sight of her lovely lady parts, and will not talk to me for like 4 days. I had to, in the doghouse. It's all over. Fluke you, June bugs. That was like the most demeaning part of my life, even past the airline tubing at my butt.
That is so disturbing in so many ways.
Right. So that was the wonderful moment I was trying to save for my wedding day, and it was so much worse than I would have ever imagined.
You do know that you've said this on a podcast, and I'm going to make sure that your wife knows about this.
Oh, I'm going to tell her when I leave.
No.
She's up.
Thanks, Jim.
I'm going to find her.
Yeah, I don't know who I'm.
Airline up the derriere.
Airline up the derriere.
Swallow.
Slightly, just enough to make a fart noise.
We've talked about.
First time I see ladies' stuff, vomit.
Yeah,
First time I see specifically my wife's.
But then brags that he has an incredible gag reflex.
I do.
He really held back.
I'm easily grossed out. You said something before, Bentley. It wasn't coming in.
Oh, it's just like we're going down the series of things here. We've got airline tubing up derriere, swallow nearly anything, throw up the first time we see the lady bits. Are we sure that the wife is not a cover story?
Yeah.
Oh, I guarantee you she is.
Yeah.
There's other stories to go along with it.
I'm going to go upstairs, make sure she has lady parts. I apologize in advance, but I'm doing it.
So the moral of the story is don't go outside when there's June bugs. Don't use airline pumps except for their intended use. And above all else, you don't put fish in for a Thunderdome.
Don't borrow money from Bentley. Don't buy reptiles from Adam.
Yeah, and get a power cord for your computer, Alex. So
and ensure proper gaseous exchange
right.
with your weather coach.
With your weather locals.
You know, between Bentley and Alex tonight, I think I should buy them each like an aquarium glass, top or something, because they seem to have problems with
something, or at least a trophy of making it through the battle of this podcast. Well, gentlemen, you have any other closing notes? I will take your shocked and horrible faces as a note of how well we did this podcast. So again, if you guys feel bad for me, want to buy Adam a new microphone, go to the Aquarium Guys podcast website, aquariumguys.com, and on the bottom, you can send some financial stimulus our way to keep the lights on. We appreciate it also. Support our sponsors. They support us. And thanks to Joe, again, for sponsoring the podcast. I think he left here a little bit ago, but thank goodness he didn't hear that last story. I'll give a free T-shirt for whoever finds the picture of Jimmy in the paper from years back. Frazee, Minnesota. Hunt it down. Free T-shirt.
I'm going to go out and get some money and buy some soap. I just want to get rid of this funk that's hanging on me right now. I feel like I've been through a shit show.
Just scrub it down.
Just scrub it down. I feel like I was violated in so many ways.
Before we go, don't forget to go to Bentley
Pascoe.
Damn it, it's like Tabasco. Go to Bentley Pascoe's YouTube channel right now. It is in the show notes. If you don't subscribe, I'm gonna force Jimmy to eat more June bugs. So also, Secret History, Living in Your Aquarium. Go on that one as well. It's in there. Thank you, Alex. I know your battery died. Go like and subscribe. All right, guys. Until next week,
maybe we'll be on the air.
Fluke you, June
Go
bug.
fluke yourself.
Thanks, guys, for listening to the podcast. Please go to your favorite place where podcasts are found, whether it be Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever they can be found. Like, subscribe, and make sure you get push notifications directly to your phone so you don't miss great content like this.
I never knew that a Minnesota accent could be so sexy until I heard Adam's voice.
Go fuck yourself, don't you know?
That's my boy, don't you know?